Okay, so 351 votes. 351! That's a lot of people. If half of those people who voted leave a like on the video, I'll be very happy. But jokes apart, let's get into the video. And today's video is about the tier list of Pokemons that you can get for 1000 Firebooks. And of course, on the top tier we have Magikarp. Haha, very funny. Hey everyone, welcome to a new video, and today let's go and take a look over here. So this article is, of course, as you guys already know, on Pokeland Legends Club. The link is in the description, and we are going to talk about the tier list only for Pokemons that cost 1000 Firebooks. Either those Pokemons will be Overlords or not, but I will be taking consideration Pokemons that you can get from scratch in a way, in order that you don't need Firebooks to get a previous Pokemon. So for example, one of the Pokemons that we are going to talk about is Lugia, Overlord itself, and technically what I'm going to talk about, you can get Lugia in the Monster Mist, so it's not a Pokemon that requires Firebooks previously in order to achieve this form. So this tier list will have 5 different tiers. We have like OP, S, A, B, C. I'm just separating the things so that we can understand it clearly. And OP tier, obviously, and of course, is Zacian. And let's take a look at pros and cons of each Pokemon so that you guys can understand exactly why I am selecting specific Pokemon over others. It's important to know why I rate each tier in that specific way so that you guys can make the best decisions for your own account. So as I was saying, first and obviously OP tier is Zacian. So Zacian, of course, as we guys already know, once he gets its Overlord, it feels kinda unstoppable right now. So what are the pros of just Zacian itself? You can exchange Zacian in the Happy Exchange for 1000 Firebooks, and the pros: amazing speed and physical attack, best long-term investment. Now Zacian itself has a DNA skill that gives him speed. He also gets a speed and physical attack from his passive, and not just that, he also gets it from the like his golden ability. So as you guys already know, this is a Pokemon that has like way too many in battle stats and just outscales almost everything else that exists in the game. And the good thing is that this is a top tier Pokemon, so if you want to invest and get his Overlord in the future, this would be like your best option, like slowly building a team up for the future, and this way you would be set really. The only cons of this Pokemon is that obviously you kinda need to play a team around it, and the easiest or cheapest team that you can possibly get, it's an Overlord Tapu Fini. Just play around a fairy team with this guy while you cannot even get his Overlord form, because this is 1.6k Firebooks and not many people can achieve that many Firebooks in a short space of time. So in the meantime, it's better if you try to play it with a different team like an Overlord Tapu Fini, which you need to get the Tapu Fini from the diamond capsules first, and then the Overlord itself, you need 1.5k Unishards to evolve Tapu Fini into the Overlord. As a third Pokemon, there are many options. If you have Xerneas itself, you don't even need to make Overlord Xerneas, you can just put Xerneas in the team, and that works well because of the Xerneas passive. And also with Overlord Tapu Fini, if there is a Xerneas in your team, the skill effect, so the main buff that Tapu Fini has, will last for 5 rounds instead of just 3. But if you don't have Xerneas, you can basically just play almost anything else really. Usually is a Spotlight Pokemon or something like a Victini that it will increase your crit damage. If you have it Overlord, amazing, but if you don't have it Overlord, it's okay, don't worry about it. Now, going down to the S tier, we have Overlord Lugia, and what is so amazing about this Pokemon is the buffs. So firstly, even if you just have Overlord Lugia, of course Lugia can get the Resonance form, but even just Lugia itself can be considered a full team. We have the Lugia buff that increases the special attack by 75% on the first rounds, and then you basically just use an ultimate and kill the whole enemy team, unless they are very tanky and Lugia cannot handle them. That's a different thing, like if you are against Steel-type Pokemon, Lugia might struggle a little bit, but it's cheap and easy to build. It can be played with Overlord Eons, obviously, as you guys already know, Overlord Latias and Overlord Latias, you catch those bad boys in the Monster Mist, 1000 Unishards to evolve each one after that, and you just play that with Lugia, and you have a team that it will last for a long time. That's basically the best thing about this Pokemon, is that even just as Overlord, it already already has enough damage for you to just play Lugia for a long part of your game, especially if you are the kind of player that you don't have many firebooks yourself and you just want like a solution to play the game right now. You want to enjoy the game right now, and this can be like a very nice thing. The main cons is that this is not a long-term team. Like Lugia right now is not meta, even though Flying Team is actually pretty nice, like with the Lugia, Resonance Lugia, Overlord Tornadoes, Overlord Hoho, but as you can imagine, pretty damn expensive to build a team like that. And on top of that, if you would want to make this Pokemon Resonance, and if your goal, of course, is just to be like very good in the game, this guy would just make your work much easier, really. And as I say over here, needs Resonance to achieve to its full potential, and still will get outscaled by other meta Pokemon. Now, this logic of getting outscaled by other meta Pokemon will apply to everybody else in the tier list, because the main logic over here is, yes, you can evolve them into Overlord to just become better, yes, but for the same amount of firebooks that you are spending to make like everything else Overlord, for that same amount, you would just get a meta Pokemon yourself. You would just get Overlordization, for example, if that's the kind of player that you are. So Lugia over here, very cheap and very effective. And going to the A tier, we have Rayquaza. Rayquaza I could rank a little bit higher because I especially like playing Rayquaza on my second account. So the pros is that you can easily get a team for this Pokemon. Like even if you have a Ho-Oh, it's freaking awesome. Or if you just have Overlord Eons, that's the cheapest. And that's the logic of most of the Pokemons in this tier list, is that if you have Overlord Eons and if you can play the Pokemon with Overlord Eons, it's already super important because it's like super easy to play and effective. On top of that, Rayquaza can deal Reaper damage, can remove buffs, can remove shields, Guardian Souls, and all around it's a very good Monster Riot team. With very low power, you can just basically one-shot every boss. But the cons is it's expensive to build, requires skill breakthrough, and its own held item. If we go over here, we have Rayquaza, Overlord Rayquaza, where is it? And Overlord Rayquaza, to achieve to his full potential, it kinda needs a little bit of skill breakthrough. You don't need like everything gold skills, but some of them help, and not many players have access to these items over here. And on top of that, also requiring his own held item, that's 1000 Unishards, like extra that you would need to spend for that. So as you can imagine, it ends up being a little bit of an expensive Pokemon. But on the bright side, Rayquaza has no resonance, so it's already on his full potential over here, so it can be a fun team to have. Still on the A tier, I have Creator Arceus. So this Arceus is a non-type, which means that basically whatever damage he does, there's no Pokemon that can actually resist to it. On top of that, he already starts the battle with a lot of physical and special attack, a lot of defenses, and 200% HP shield. There's not many Pokemon, if you are just playing at this tier of 1000 firebooks, there's not many Pokemon that can take this shield off you, and in my opinion, you can even refresh the shield in the middle of the battle. The shield lasts for 3 rounds, so while those 3 rounds are actually going on, I think you can do a lot of damage that way. Also, have access to heavy armor, so you can just be tanky, and that's pretty much it. And of course, one of the things that I consider is having a good potential to play as a main team in the future, because once you make this Pokemon Overlord, especially if you have Overlord and the Gladian costume, like this Pokemon just gets so much stats in battle that it's actually very easy to play. But what I just said is exactly the cons of this Pokemon. He's a group attacker, he deals damage, but he deals much more damage if he is Overlord. So it like requires Overlord, requires at least Gladian costume to achieve his fullest potential. Now, going to the B tier, we have Dark Ho-Oh. Now, I really love almost all of these Pokemons in these tiers. I just have to rate them a little bit differently according to what they can provide to you, like mostly long term as well, because for example this bird over here is actually really amazing, can be quite tanky. That's one of the pros that I have over here, and the reason for the tankiness, so this Pokemon has access to heavy armor, so that's a plus, already helps you with the tankiness. But also in battle, Dark Ho-Oh gets 30% damage reduction and skill power increase by 50% when he is flying, so that's already a lot of tankiness and some extra damage that this Pokemon can have. On top of that, having a specific burn on this Pokemon that cannot be removed, and the ultimate actually dealing 2 times restriction to almost any Pokemon that exists in the game, except Shadow Pokemon, let's say it that way, like Shadow Mewtwo, Dark Lugia, etc. So besides all of these pros, the cons, one of the things that I did not mention over here, he lacks a little bit of in-battle speed. He lacks a little bit of battle start speed. Almost all of these Pokemons have that battle start speed, like Rayquaza has some decent battle start speed, especially with a held item. Rayquaza does have speed on the held item, right? Yeah, he does. Lugia also has a bunch of passives that provide them battle start speed. Also the creator arc, especially if you go to the Overlord and Gladian costume, you have a lot of in-battle speed, and that's one of the things that lack on this Ho-Oh. He usually is slow compared to a lot of other Pokemons and can possibly attack second in many cases. And to achieve a full potential, as I say over here, might need an expensive team. He probably needs a weather buffer like a Groudon, a Zoroark, or even an Overlord Groudon or an Overlord Zoroark to actually achieve his fullest potential. Nevertheless, I really enjoy this Pokemon, especially that burning mechanic and the tankiness that this Pokemon have. It's extremely amazing for the early game. A little bit less tanky, but still very liked in the community, we have Primal Dialga. Now, on Primal Dialga, what I like about this Pokemon is like an easy solid sim with the Overlord Eons, okay? As I said previously, any Pokemon that can be played with Overlord Eons, it will just feel much better. And also has a potential to become a main team. Now, one of the things that is cool about Primal Dialga is if you one day you would like to get the Overlord version, you have access to very cool moves like Z Dark Flame makes this Pokemon move again if he just kills the enemy, and since there's a lot of steel type Pokemons going around, this guy can just one-shot the steel type Pokemons and just moves again, then just uses his ultimate and kills an entire team. But that's of course thinking about the Overlord. We want to think about the base one first, right? So the best thing about this Pokemon is the ultimate itself, since it wants to deal like a lot of damage, especially if you play it with Eons, Overlord Latias and Latias. This would be like the best thing that you can have. Not just that though, we also have access to the legendary journey. If you have an Ashishu and a Primal Dialga, you can have access to the legendary journey that gives a time star. Thanks a lot, Manga, for reminding me about this. And if you can actually raid for a time star, decreasing your enemy speed by 10%, and this can stack, which means that you can have 3 Pokemon on the same team, all with this time star, and you are reducing the enemy speed by 30%. So this can be awesome. The major cons of this Pokemon is that, of course, as most of them in this list, it needs Overlord to achieve to its full potential, which is 1,600 more firebooks, and on top of that, very sadly, this Pokemon has some low accuracy, low hit rate. He does actually miss a lot of attacks sometimes, so it's something that you have to keep in mind. But I really like the idea that besides you having the possibility of playing this Pokemon in a main team, like dealing a lot of damage with your ultimate and stuff, you also, at the same time, you are working towards a very important wish star. And I forgot to mention about Creator Arceus as well, right? We also have a wish star for Mr. Creator Arceus over here, which is the Creator Star, which increases our damage, our skill damage by 15%, and it can be stacked. So if you have 3 of those in your Pokemon on the same team, you can have up to 45% more skill damage on all of your Pokemon. Remember boys, wish stars are a big part of the game and they can actually be game changing. Going back to the tier list, we have Master of Illusions. This is basically a fan favorite over here. Looking at the Illusion Star, for example, since we were talking about wish stars, reducing his own restriction damage taken by 25% is not a bad wish star, but it's also not a mandatory one. It's not just as game changing as the Creator or Time Star that we just saw before. On the pros of playing this Pokemon as an attacker, we have heavy armor, we have so a little bit of tankiness, also a little bit of dodge by 30%, so it helps you with the survivability for sure, and a restriction damage increased by 20% and a little bit of speed. This Pokemon can buff itself with a chance to move again, which can be important to charge up your ultimate. And the ultimate is the big thing about this Pokemon. It's also an ultimate that has 2 times restriction to all the Pokemon, and it's basically a one-shot ultimate. You usually want to use this ultimate to one-shot any Pokemon in front of you. But the cons of this Pokemon that I consider is a single target attacker. Everything is single target, so if you find a spotlight, you can easily get countered, and usually needing Zoroark or even Overlord Zoroark or even the just Overlord Master of Illusions itself to achieve his full potential. Now, it kinda hurts me to put Armor Mewtwo in the C tier, but one of the reasons why I put, for example, Master of Illusions over here, he has like some dodge, some heavy armor, so he has like also a chance to move again. And sadly, the Mr. Armor Mewtwo without Overlord, he does not have an access to move again. He does not, I mean, he has some defenses, but that's not the biggest thing about him. But he has a lot of battle start speed, he has some very nice damage, and can be built in a very cheap team. So in a way, I kind of want to put Mewtwo a little bit higher, but I'm not sure myself. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys already saw somebody playing Armor Mewtwo with Eons, and sometimes it can be like really hard to play against. But then again, the battle start speed and the crit damage that this Pokemon has only lasts for 3 rounds, and sadly, only on the Overlord he can refresh this buff. So after 3 rounds, this Pokemon will lose the speed, will lose the crit damage, which it will actually decrease his damage by a lot. That's why I decided to put Armor Mewtwo this low. As an Overlord, it just gets much more value out of it, right? But without being an Overlord, you just lose the buff in 3 rounds, you just get countered by Spotlight Pokemon. I don't consider it like super good. And last on the list we have Novakirm. Now, I was never too much of a fan of Novakirm. Like, in comparison to Armor Mewtwo, for example, Novakirm has group moves, which Armor Mewtwo is a single target attacker. But this Novakirm can be played in an Overlord Latios and Latias team, and it's a decent group attacker, as I was saying. But the problem is, to achieve its full potential, it needs Overlord, and quite possibly also Overlord Black and White, even though like just playing Overlord Unova with Eons like for the long term can be decent enough, but a lot of people just want to build Overlord Black and White at the start, and it just doesn't cut it. When this Pokemon was released, I believe there was some like damage miscalculations going around with his damage, and he actually dealt a lot. Like, he's still doing a lot, like based on his HP and stuff, so he's still doing a lot, but honestly, I don't think this Pokemon is worthy of earning a higher tier. Now, this was the end of the list, but before you guys go, just let me know in the comments what did you think about this video, and also, did I miss any Pokemon that you guys would like me to talk about that would also cost 1000 Firebooks? Let me know in the comments. In this video, I basically just tried to include most of the popular Pokemons that have been going around that people enjoy playing, and trying to rate them in the same tier so that we just don't see Zacian here, Zacian there, Zacian everywhere, really. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys on the next video.